Hello everyone! A very happy new year and warm welcome to you all. This is Reading Through the Generations. My name is Precious and I'm here with a special guest, Carol, who's my mother-in-law, and she shares my love of storytelling and reading. So whenever she's in town, we try to film a little bookish chat, and given that today is 12th night, we thought it would be a fun idea to share the books that we gifted to one another as well as received over the holidays. So why don't you start, Carol?
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, I have a couple of new books and one very, very old book. This one is called Among the Pond People, and it was actually written in 1900, which is how many years ago then?
124
Yeah.
years ago? 25, 125. Let me show close up of the beautiful cover with the lotus and the frogs and the fish. Turtle,
yes,
as well.
And it's a delightful book for its time, partly delightful for how beautifully it was made. I mean, with a cloth hardcover, and the illustrations. Here, can you hold that up for...
Frogs having a party or competition. Who can jump the highest?
Just beautiful, and some of the illustrations still have the what do they call it? It was like wax paper or something protecting the actual illustration.
Does it say who the illustrator was?
The author. Wait a minute. There's a wonderful little library instruction from a library in Salem, Massachusetts. And interesting. The little inscription also says, "To Dylan because he will be a brother soon." Whatever that
Autumn
means.
of 1991.
Right.
He's expecting a baby brother or sister.
Right, and here's, see, this is one of the protective sheets for the illustrations. And the illustrator was E.C. Gordon, and the author was Clara Dillingham Pierson, who was also the author of Among the Meadow People, Among the Forest People, etc.
This whole series of books that we're going to be on the lookout for.
Right. And anyway, they're for their time, they're just delightful little stories that are also, they also include a lot of information about, how those creatures live, as well as being very, what would you call it, anthropomorphic. But anyway, it's a wonderful little treasure from a long time ago. And
this is one that I got her. All across the pond, had to be specially ordered.
And this is one that Precious and Nico ordered from Blackwell's in England. It's My Animals and Other Animals, a memoir of sorts, by one of my favorite British comedians.
Our favorite.
Bill,
musician also.
Right, Bill Bailey, who is just one of these wonderful people who, what can you say
He's
about
a jack of all trades. He can dance. He won the Strictly Come Dancing with Oti Mabuti a couple years ago. But yeah, his whole comedic style, he incorporates music, and he can play probably every imaginable instrument,
including a few that you can't even imagine. Some of those weird ones. He's wonderful. But he also has, like some people we know, been a magnet for animals that need a home. And so he's ended up with parrots and dogs and all kinds of other animals that end up living in their house or in their grounds, whatever you call it. But he has also traveled the world as a comedian, giving shows in places like Singapore or wherever, but using that time to explore amazing places and meet other animals. It's just absolutely delightful book to read, and I hope it gets published soon in this country.
I think it's going to have its U.S. release later
so,
this month or the beginning of February. But I love how he kind of played homage to Gerald Durrell's My Family and Other Animals.
Oh, definitely.
The title.
Yeah, anyway, it's really, really fun. Yeah, and here's a little thing on the back. In this book, you will learn how to identify radioactive sea lice. I'm sure you're really going to have to do that one day. What to sing to a whale. Why you shouldn't rile up a giant chicken if you're a human. I know about that one. And why you shouldn't annoy a giant rabbit if you're a fox. Anyway, they're wonderful, wonderful anecdotes and tales of his life among animals and other people. And my last one, continuing the theme of living among animals.
I'm familiar with this one.
What?
I'm familiar with this
Are you?
one.
Have you read this one?
I just started it.
I love this book. My older sister Arden sent this. I had never heard of the author. I knew nothing about it. And I ended up staying up all night reading it because I could not put it down. And it was not something I would have thought would happen. It's an amazing, beautiful story of a woman who's, well, her husband and her only son, her only child, have died. And after 6 decades, 60 years living in Australia, she moves back to her home village in England, essentially to die. She doesn't want to live anymore. She's just going through life by habit.
We all have been there.
Yes, haven't we though? And, well, part of the charm, where is that page? Part of the charm of it is the language that this man, I don't know, he puts words together in a way that is sheer magic. She finds in a discarded aquarium that a neighbor is throwing out, and for a reason that she can't quite explain, she goes out in a rainstorm and rescues this aquarium that's full of the debris of what people put in aquariums, old pumps and that kind of thing. And she brings it in the house, and right on top of all this debris is a plastic deep sea diver that is identical to the one that her son has, which triggers memory, not just memories, but feelings that she hasn't even allowed herself to know. And his description is so amazing. I'll just read you this one passage. In warm, wet stillness, she ponders the deep sea diver she can now feel holding her entire life in place, like an anchor dropped years ago and then forgotten. But for what purpose is she being held at the edge? Everyone she has ever loved or wanted to love is gone, and behind a veil of fear, she wishes to be where they are. And in that little paragraph, you know this woman, you know who she is. And through the discovery later of a half-drowned mouse in that pile of debris inside of the aquarium, she makes a discovery and takes action, saves his life, and sets off a cascade of events that saves her own life. It's an absolutely beautiful story.
And something that we all can learn from and adapt into our own life, because whatever we may be going through in our own little world, there's endless possibility that we can use, and
some that we can never even anticipate. That's what's beautiful about this story.
When we kind of open our gaze onto others and any kind of life. So, yeah.
Right.
So the ones that I received this year includes, I don't know if you guys have ever, I know you guys are familiar with the fairy books that are, I think there's 12 in the series by Edward Lang. Andrew Lang. I collect fairy tales from all around the world, and I have his Arabian Nights and the Pink Fairy book, and this was such a complete utter surprise. I got the orange one, the brown one, and the olive one, and these were actually translated and compiled and adapted to fit Edwardian society propriety by his wife. I believe her name was Leonora Alleyne, along with other women writers that she collaborated with. So I think these also include the original illustrations. Let me find one that's bigger.
There's one.
It's a bit blurry, but yeah, I think his name was John Ford. Henry Ford. But yeah, they would take fairy tales and folk tales from all around the world, just little parts even. Like the orange one, I believe there's folk tales from Zimbabwe, Zambia, Pakistan, and other areas of the world. So yeah, they're just beautiful. And then this heavy one, I'm just going to briefly hold it up. It's the Theatrical Adventures of Edward Gorey, Rare Drawings, Scripts and Stories by Verburg, who was a close friend and artistic collaborator, colleague, and this has been just wonderful to kind of skim through and learn a bit more about him. This is an artist that I was infatuated with as a young child. I'm sure you guys, if you're not familiar with his name, you'll be familiar with his gorgeous dark crosshatch illustrations. And I had no idea that he was in the army, and he was just doing filing, and in between work he would just doodle. And thanks to the GI Bill, he went on to Harvard and met likewise creative, artistic minded people and formed the Poets Theater, and that's where he developed and gained more experience, ultimately leading to perhaps what he's best known for. He went on to do the set design, all the costumes for Bram Stoker's Dracula, and I had no idea that it started just in this small decrepit theater in Nantucket, and it became so popular that they took it to Broadway, and that's where he earned his numerous Tony Awards for all his beautiful, unique artistic expression. So yeah, I've been really enjoying this. And then I also received an Ellen Montgomery book, The Blue Castle.
Oh, I haven't read that one.
I've only read her Emily of New Moon series, and this is one of her standalones. I think I don't like knowing too much about my books, and so yeah, I'm gonna enjoy reading this one. So until next time, take really good care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.